time once again to admit I was wrong. And we're going to take a look at your pro wrestling I was wrongs as well in just a second. But first, I got to clear up a couple things because Steve can be wrong about things sometimes as well. And yes, I'm going to talk about the latest Grandpa shirt in just a moment. But first up, on my Triple Mania hot takes video, I had said something along the lines of wrestlers whose name begin with an El Hijo de, meaning like a luchador whose name is like El Hijo del Vikingo, right? I was always under the impression that that meant they were actually the son of the luchador that their name reference. For example, in the case of El Hijo del Vikingo, he was actually the son of King Vikingo, his dad. That's true. But then in the case of Dr. Wagner Jr., apparently he was actually the son of Dr. Wagner. I thought that the junior thing just meant that you're training under the guy and that the guy gave you your gimmick. I swear I read that somewhere. But evidently that somewhere was completely incorrect because as many of you pointed out, none of that's true. Apparently there's no rhyme or reason to what a junior is or an El Hijo del is. Okay, I guess that just is in line with the rest of the wrestling world where kind of nothing just makes sense unless you need it to make sense for a storyline or whatever. I swear I read that somewhere, but by all means, I love being fact-checked. Please, if you ever run into anybody who's like, oh, I don't want to be fact-checked, don't trust that person. They're lying to you. I like being fact-checked and I like being educated. So as long as y'all are educating Steve, I'm happy. I'm totally fine with that. Also, I have finally made a decision about how I will refer to the promotion recently purchased by TKO, WWE, whatever, referred to in Mexico as AAA, referred to by gringos as AAA. Which one is Steven? See, it's complicated for me because mi madre es de Paraguay. And so I know that I look as gringo as can be. I'm virtually translucent. I'm so white, but I do have some Paraguayan blood in me. And so that kind of complicates things. But in order to make things easier, I'm simply going to refer to it as AAA. They do that on the English language broadcast of WWE's AAA presentation. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and refer to it as. But if from time to time I call it AAA, that's just how it is. That's a little bit of that Paraguayan blood of mine. Sangre popping out. And trying to make its presence known. So anyways, there you go. There's an update. And then before I'm going to get to your I was wrongs, it's time for an update on my grandpa shirt. This is another one for my grandpa collection. And this one, apparently my grandpa had traveled to Hershey, Pennsylvania, because he had this Hershey's Chocolate World shirt. It's got a cow with a whole sack of Hershey Kisses in his hindquarters there. And he's got a camera. He's a tourist, apparently. So, yeah, hopefully that cow eases up on the chocolate. Otherwise, he's going to be a diabetic cow. Anyways, let's go ahead and dive into your I was wrongs. First up, from Kenneth Baker, says sending Baron Corbin back to NXT was the best thing that could have happened to him at that point. All right, so I was never a fan of that move, and I know a lot of people really liked his time with Braun Breaker as the Wolf Dogs. Yeah, they had decent chemistry. They're a good tag team. You know what, man, if they do something that just seems kind of long-term pointless, I'm not usually a fan of it. And then it ended up being long-term pointless because he's not in the company anymore. And good on him for winning the MLW tag titles with Dijak. I think that's great for both of them. I really like Baron Corbin. For me, Baron Corbin, and this is a hot take, unpopular opinion, whatever you want to call it. They messed up with Baron Corbin when they made him shave his head. Because back in NXT, he had a gimmick where he was like the lone wolf and he had that balding head of hair, which I thought he pulled off just fine. I think some people, I'm saying like 10% of the balding population can pull off a balding head with long hair. And then he's making that main roster money. You just go to Turkey and get yourself a brand new head of hair, man. He could have done that. Instead, they had him shave his head, and he started dressing like a waiter, and then Vince McMahon just seemed intent on humiliating the guy at every possible turn. He had the failed cash-in. John Cena would just talk all sorts of shit to him in the ring. It was horrible what they did to that guy. So by the time, years later, that he made it to NXT, I'm sorry, but like, Baron, I just didn't see anything for him in WWE. He was so buried to me. I just felt bad for the guy. He had like still my favorite finish to this day is the end of days. I love that move. I think it's great. And I'm happy that he is having success outside of WWE as Bishop Dwyer. Good for him. But man, I think in terms of somebody who had so much talent to offer, because for a big man, he's really good in the ring. For a guy who's got so much to offer, WWE and Vince McMahon really did him a disservice. Back in NXT, his whole gimmick was he could beat people within 30 seconds. They were booking him to the moon in NXT. He should have won the title down there. And he had that cool metal look. Who cares if he was balding? Go back and look at pop culture in the 70s and the early 80s, man. People were balding all the time. They were super popular. Look at Elton John. I don't know why I bring up Elton John, but I did. Kamo Mustafa, WWE, says Judgment Day changing their theme song. Man, oh man. One of the best WWE theme songs of recent memories, Alter Bridges, The Other Side, the Judgment Day theme song. Man, that song was so good. And I'll be honest, I think the current one is like maybe okay, but it just doesn't hit. It just doesn't hit. I don't like, what the fuck? I had a Del Taco ad try to run right in the middle of my show. I'm keeping that shit in. What's up next? From my son, Chris Kaufman, says Sheamus and Cesaro, their characters were boring before that best of 7, but incredible by the time they became tag champs. Yeah, I love Thebar. Like, I did not expect that to happen because I did not care 1 ounce about Sheamus and Cesaro before they got together, before they had that best of 7 series way back when, and they became the Bar. And they were like a terrific tag team. They were horribly branded, but like, man, they were a fun tag team and they were wildly successful as well. So yeah, I didn't think that was going to work either, Kaufman. The Genuine Fake has a great one. The New Age Outlaws. Never thought the Roadie and Rockabilly would make it more than a month or two. Is this like the most successful thrown together tag team you've ever witnessed? I don't know if there is a better thrown together tag team, but these guys have like nothing in common. I'm kind of shocked that Jesse James, the Road Dogg, Jesse James, I'm kind of surprised that he went from being such a, like, you know, he's an Armstrong. So he's like a firm territory wrestling guy, right? Straight out of Crockett or wherever they're from, whatever. And he's able to reinvent himself from Jeff Jarrett's Roadie to the Road Dogg, a guy who bizarrely had all sorts of credibility as whatever it was he was doing with the braids and all that. And then they put him with Billy Gunn, who didn't have to do anything except to say, and if you don't like that, I got 3 words for you. And they had amazing chemistry. That was weird, but it hella worked. If I was watching back in 96 or 97, I think it was probably 97 when they got together, I'd have been like, the hell is this supposed to be? Why are they putting these jobbers together? And then it totally worked. That was crazy. Absolutely crazy. What's up next here? Rocka Will says, when they redesigned the Intercontinental title back in 2020, hated it first, but Gunther's reign brought back the importance of the IC belt, and Jey Uso winning it, then adding blue made it glorious. Yeah, the blue was a bizarrely small but massive contribution to that title. I agree with it. I think the Intercontinental Championship looks great. Yeah, I wasn't necessarily a fan of it either because it was like, why? It feels like you're just changing it to change it. But when Gunther got his hands on it, it just looked really good on him. It has kind of a European feel to it. Kind of looks like something you'd see out of like one of those old German expressionist films, perhaps. Something like that. The cabinet of Dr. Caligari might have carried this particular. Dr. Caligari himself, or the somnambulist, might have carried this Intercontinental Championship. Let's see here. What's up next? Stropapo says, Brodus Clay's Funkasaurus gimmick. He turned a punishment into an opportunity to become more than just a bodyguard. He was given a Mania moment thanks to his gimmick. Naomi and Xavier Woods became full-time members of the roster. You got to give credit where credit's due to Brodus Clay. Whatever his name is now, I forget. It's not, I forget what it is. In any event, he's on like Fox News, I guess. He was in the NWA for a spell. But as the Funkasaurus, Man, I thought he was a lot of fun. Like, I don't know if there was ever much of a ceiling for him, but I kind of feel like the Funkasaurus got him more over than he would have been if they were going to make him this big dominant guy, you know? So, yeah, I kind of wish they would have let the guy cut like promos and stuff because clearly he's made a career for himself talking and the guy can talk. So, yeah. That was kind of a crazy one. I thought it was fun. I thought his silly dance moves were pretty entertaining. Shadow says, I didn't expect the fandom to embrace Mr. Iguana to the extent that they did. As a fan of Lucha for years, I know it could be very weird for American crowds. Here's the thing about American crowds. We need to lighten up a little bit. I think people like Micro Man and then the Exoticos, for example, whatever they're called. I know I probably got that one wrong too. I think they need to be given a chance. I think we need more absurdity. We need more things that kind of, push the limits a little bit. I feel like we need more stuff. We need to loosen up. I feel like we need more stuff like that. And American audiences will embrace it. Absolutely, Mr. Iguana. Hell yeah. Yeah. I think we need more absurdism and bring in more. See, that's the thing that WWE needs to understand. If you're going to go and you're going to buy a promotion like AAA, if you're going to do that, then like it should help infuse your own product with more interesting stuff, with stuff from the culture that you're buying. Get from there and absorb some of that and give a couple more flavors to the people paying exorbitant prices for your product. Absolutely. Let's see here. Al Stover says, Candice LeRae and Johnny Gargano as heels, specifically with the way. I always had a feeling that Johnny Gargano would do well as a snarky bad guy. He's got a great personality. He's a great talker. And to see the chemistry that him and Candice LeRae have, and then you threw Austin Theory and Indy Hartwell in there. Man, I really like that family. That was a really fun time in NXT. And then it just all sort of fell apart. So yeah, I'm a fan of the way. Jack says Vicky Guerrero as an on-screen authority figure. I'll be honest with you. Not my favorite. I know she's kind of a controversial figure these days, and that's saying things lightly. You can look it up yourself. But I was never really much of a fan. The screeching thing, it was just so... It was too much for my delicate ears, man. Excuse me. It just doesn't do much for me. As a character, she never really did it. Here's a guy that did it, though. Cyclone Jesus says, the American Badass allowed Undertaker to show more personality. I remember when that first happened, and I was like, okay. Because I'll be honest with you guys. Ministry Undertaker really didn't do much for me. I thought he looked cheesy as hell. The super old guy looking like he just exploded at a Hot Topic. I don't know. It was just, I never was a corporate, definitely was never a corporate ministry guy. But I was never really a ministry guy. He honestly was sort of booked as like a really high profile depth guy for Steve Austin to kick around. And that was kind of it. And then he came back as American Badass. It's like, okay, I understand this guy. He's just a dude who likes motorcycles and he can beat people up. And he probably likes beer. It was like Stone Cold Light kind of. And I liked that. I thought it was fine. I thought it was cool. I agree with this. I like the American Badass. The difference is, though, as soon as he showed up, I was like, I'm on board with this. All that boogeyman, supernatural bullshit, I ain't into that. But the American Badass stuff, definitely into that. What else you guys got for me? Choweezy says the NIL program, taking college athletes with minimal to zero wrestling experience and training them into WWE wrestlers, sounded like it would have produced more failures than successes. Can't lie, some of the rising stars have impressed me tremendously. Yeah, I mean, it has produced way more failures than successes, but I guess that's the point of it, is that you just get this huge crop of potential, and then you weed out like 99%, and you might be left with a couple gems. And I'm wondering financially if that makes sense for the company, but I guess it does, because a lot of NXT has been populated with younger talent who will eventually make it to main roster and make the company, I guess, in theory, a lot of money. But yeah, no, there's been some good names out of there. I think Tavion Heights is out of the NIL thing. I forget Grayson Waller wasn't out of there. But yeah, there's been some good talent out of there. I think Obafemi wasn't Obafemi? I think Obafemi was an NIL guy. I think Trick Williams was too. Yeah, there's been some good names out of there. So yeah, I was I was kind of surprised at that as well, though. You think that, like, go back to it. You think that, like, people who really want to be into wrestling are going to find their ways into wrestling. Instead, WWE went out and said, hey, college athletes, we're an option for you. And that might spark something in somebody's head and be like, oh, man, it combines athleticism, sports, acting, storytelling. Maybe it'll click, and for a couple it has, so that's good. It doesn't matter, really, says Ricochet as a heel is a revelation. When they started planting the seeds of his turn in AEW, I remember old indie heel Ricochet, and I didn't think it would work. Yeah, you could tell this guy's been bottling up that stuff for a long time. In fact, I've been really disappointed that he hasn't been featured more over the past like couple weeks or so. I think heel Ricochet really should be like a constant focus in AEW, but it's kind of a heel heavy promotion. And I think it's probably easier to get lost in the shuffle. But no, I think Ricochet should be one of those guys who is on TV constantly. His heel persona to me worked almost immediately. And as soon as he did that goofy laugh of his, I was like, oh, okay, he found his thing. He's bringing a little bit of that WWE stuff to his character. And it's shocking that they never try to do that in WWE, which, by the way, I was always an advocate of Ricochet going heel in WWE. I'm sure a lot of you were, because I was like, man, if this guy just becomes this arrogant piece of shit who does really cool stuff in the ring, he's going to get over quickly. And he did. It just didn't happen in WWE. Next up here. Here we go. Finn says, RK Bro had such amazing bro chemistry. I feel like this one relied exclusively because when they got together, I was like, I don't think Randy Orton's going to like working with this guy. I feel like they're not going to be on the same page. And then surprise, surprise, Randy Orton seemed to love working with Matt Riddle because, I mean, he said so like a lot. So, yeah, I was kind of surprised that they got along as well as they did. And they did have really, really good chemistry. They seemed to really enjoy working with each other. So who knows? Maybe one day we'll see them back together again. Maybe. I kind of doubt it. I don't know if Matt Riddle will end up back in WWE or not. But, yeah. Let's see here. Tony the Pokemon guy says, Hornswoggle versus El Torito WLC. It's up there with Sammy and Knoxville levels of fun. Man, if there's one thing the IWC can agree on, it's that WLC is like one of the best TLC matches there is. I really don't remember watching it. I probably did. I'm almost positive I did. I think we were already doing one of the podcasts at that point, either Tree of Woe or we already on Going in Raw. I don't know what year it was. But yeah, I'll have to revisit that one day. Maybe I'll have to revisit that one day. And let's see, got a couple more here. Nate Fuentes says, I thought Naomi would flop as a bad guy, but she's fucking awesome. She has the most wild one-liners and totally gets it with this new cartoon-level bad guy persona that feels refreshing. It does feel refreshing, and she's going to be gone for a very long time, which bums me out, but at the same time, it's awesome that she's going to have a kid. Having a kid is awesome. If you want that, if you don't want that, then don't have it. In any event, Naomi as a bad guy is terrific. You're absolutely right about the wild one-liners. Her one-liners are fucking hilarious. She is so out of pocket, and it makes me so happy. And I thought that her promo, when they did the whole title vacancy thing, where she told Adam Pearce she ain't giving him shit and get out of here and don't trip over your church shoes, I thought that shit was hilarious. She is awesome, and I can't wait to see her back. Probably going to be a little while, though. And finally, Rando Chris says, I don't really go into things thinking it's going to suck in general, at least just setting my standards low to avoid big disappointment. But I'd say that the Kevin Owens Ezekiel stuff was better than I expected. That's because everything Kevin Owens touches turns to gold. That guy is one of the best, and I hope to see him back on my wrestling screen at some point as well. Even if it's doing commentary, I would love to see it. So, yeah, listen, I'm all out of I was wrongs. So right now I'm going to post on the community thread a new post asking you guys for more of these I was wrongs. Now, popular subjects that I've already covered here, like Roman Reigns heel turn, Cody losing at WrestleMania, Cody coming back to WWE, CM Punk's return. I've already covered that stuff. So I need new material. If you're unsure if I've covered or something or not, I don't know, just go watch the other videos and see if I have or not, or maybe look through Well, I'm gonna disappear the old thread. I'm gonna delete that one. So yeah, let me know what you felt wasn't gonna work that ended up working, or maybe something that you thought was gonna work that ended up flopping. Let me know not in the comments. You can drop comments, but not in the comments. I'm gonna post up a community thread. Let me know there. You probably should still drop comments here because that makes the algorithm push the video out a little bit more. That's going to do it for this edition of I Was Wrong right here on WrestleJuice. We'll see you guys around.